Okay, yes, it is a little chilly, but it's also so very beautiful. Just everyone for a moment, just look behind you at the sunset. Just look, and also at Alex and Eric, who don't get enough attention anyway. Just see how beautiful that is. Okay, that's enough. Now turn back to me. Our Torah portion this Shabbat is entitled Shoftim, or Judges. And it includes many passages that are incredibly relevant to our time. The qualifications for the appointment of wise and judicious judges, for instance. The rules of war. There is a powerful section about the limitations on the power of kings, and by extension on any national leader. And of course, our portion includes the famous passage, Tzedek, Tzedek tirdof, justice, justice shall you pursue. So, any rabbi worth his or her salt undoubtedly would use this opportunity to discuss the state of our judicial system, either here or in Israel, or perhaps the presidential election if we were not so constrained by the Johnson Amendment, or point out that the Israelis, in prosecuting their war against Hamas, are indeed adhering to the ethical dictates of the Torah, whereas Hamas most certainly is not. Or that rabbi might speak about the injustice of bigotry and anti-Semitism. But I am not that rabbi. On this particular Shabbat, I am a tired rabbi, weary of bringing war, politics, and anti-Semitism into the sanctity of this beautiful outdoor sanctuary. Oh, I will get back to all those themes in the future, I am sure, as they do, Nebuch, represent the challenges we are facing as a people. But on this Shabbat, as summer wanes and the light begins to fade, I want to speak about something lighter. Indeed, I want to speak about light itself, about increasing the light in our world, in our lives, and in this sacred congregation. Now, people often believe that the symbol of the Jewish people is the Magen David, or the Star of David. And yet, the Jewish star actually appears quite late in our 4,000-year history. Indeed, it does not become prominent even until the Jewish community of Prague adopts the Star of David as their official symbol in the 17th century. In the Torah, however, the singular symbol of our people is the menorah. Not the Hanukkah menorah with its 9 candles. No, our most ancient symbol is the 7-spoked candelabra, like the one that stands proudly in front of the Israeli Knesset. And no offense to the Jewish star, but I do believe that the menorah is a much more apt symbol for what we as a people are trying to achieve. We are a people striving to bring light and enlightenment into the world. If I could define Judaism in one phrase, that would be it. So, when Rabbi Bennett and his minions feed the hungry of our community each fortnight at our temple pantry, they are lighting the candle of compassion and thus bringing light into the world. When our Shiva leaders enter the homes of mourners, they are lighting the candle of comfort and thus bringing light into our world. When our youth group, Brotherhood, and Women of Temple Israel undertake their many social action projects, they are lighting the candle of Tikkun Olam and thus bringing light into our world. When our teachers open the eyes of our students to the beauty of our ancient tradition, they are lighting the candle of education and thus bringing light into our world. I could go on and on, but you get the idea. I promised I would not get political this evening, but I lied. Because my understanding of the present state of our world is that we are in an existential battle between the forces of light and enlightenment against the forces of medievalism and darkness, as personified by Putin and Hamas, by neo-fascists and conspiracy theorists, by anti-science nincompoops, and by the ultra-liberal, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic forces in our ivory towers of our universities. And lately, It feels like the forces of darkness are winning. So let us shed light. We are Jews. That is our task and our mission, to light the menorahs of this world. For me, the menorah is also a symbol of God's presence in our lives. And many of you know that light, is one of my favorite metaphors for God. Why? Because like God, you cannot touch light, but it is nonetheless all-powerful. Without light, there would be no life. You can actually not see light, but rather you see things reflected in the light. And of course, each of us has a spark of God's greater light within us, our neshama, our soul. And so when we bring light into the world, we are literally sharing our souls with others, with our friends, our families, our neighbors, our fellow congregants, and yes, with those utter strangers whom we are striving to help. A couple of weeks ago, our community came together to celebrate the many ways in which David Tisdale has brought his very special light to our community. And it was announced there that in thanking David for his many decades of service, we are raising funds to build a dedicated play space for our ECC children. Can't you just imagine their eyes lighting up when they see this magnificent, first of its kind, joyful, playful, Jewish move to learn Wonderland for the very first time? It is why we termed this campaign, and I speak now of the entire overarching $25 million campaign, Lahadlik Ner, to light the candles. And its symbol is the seven-spoked menorah of our tradition. The play space is part of the Beautifying Our Campus candle. But there are 6 other candles, including the candles of member engagement, security, establishing a vibrant East Side presence to serve the spiritual and educational needs of our youngest families. There is a technology candle, a pastoral care candle, and one representing financial stability in the wake of a worldwide pandemic. This, by the way, is not a campaign pitch. There are no pledge cards in your seats. But it is a way of acknowledging another aspect of the word tzedek. Tzedek, you see, is also the root of the word tzedakah. For Jews, giving to worthy causes is not charity, it's righteousness. It is sharing our own light with those in need and to make the world a brighter place. If you are interested in lighting our temple's menorah by participating in Lahadlik Ner, of course, that is a great mitzvah, and by the way, you will receive 3 million mitzvah points to be redeemed on Yom Kippur. However, whatever causes are dearest to your own heart, please make sure that you spend some time, perhaps this Shabbat, thinking deeply and planning how you will shed the light of tzedakah, of generosity and righteousness into our community and into our world, so greatly in need of light in these darkened times. Now, I am sure you are also aware that another most ancient symbol of our people and of Judaism is the Ner Tamid, the eternal light. Once, when I was a little boy, I was helping my father roll the Torah in preparation for the upcoming Shabbat service. And suddenly, the Ner Tamid went out, and we were left in utter darkness. "Dad," I said in a shaking voice, "the eternal light went out. What is going to happen to us?" My dad just smiled, put his hand on my shoulder, and said, "Paul, what makes the light eternal is not that the bulb or the oil never burns out. What makes it eternal is that there will always be Jewish people to relight it." And all I can add to that is Ken Yehi Ratzon. May it be your will, O God, as we all say, Amen.